For the last full day, I've been playing basically nothing except for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. This game absolutely rules. Definitely had my concerns going into this. This was definitely a wait for reviews type of thing. But boy, am I glad that I got it. Because this is some of the most fun I have had in a game in ages. Almost every single element of this game is picture perfectly created to make it the most fun it could possibly be. That's not to say it doesn't have its flaws, but I don't really want this video to be talking about the flaws too much, so let's breeze past them pretty quick. The biggest problems that I have with this game center around the tutorials, user experience, and sort of the limited nature of things like the story mode. If you get on this game and all you want to do is play online battles, you're probably going to have a really good time. The story mode of this game is kinda boring. Yamcha just dies in the... Yamcha didn't even make it to the fucking fight. He got killed in the cutscene. Tien got off screen. I know I shouldn't be expecting too much. It is a fighting game story mode, but it's just little things, like not having the first Super Saiyan transformation be a cutscene. It kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Bastard! Go! Take Piccolo.
That's it? That's all they give you?
Find Bulma, find the spaceship, and go!
That's crazy! I do really like the idea that you are allowed to sort of branch off and do separate non-canon events, but I found that more often than not I was finding these on accident while doing a pretty difficult boss fight, meaning that I then had to redo the boss fight, which is fine, but it did feel a little bit frustrating not knowing the conditions beforehand or having the conditions unlock after the fact so you could replay and see unique events. It also is really funny that the game is basically making it canon that Goku makes objectively incorrect decisions at almost every point in his story, and that if he chose to, you know, go help Piccolo out with Cell, that story ends there. They don't have to deal with it. I do wish there was a little bit more meat on that, but that's, again, wishful thinking. That it doesn't matter. The other big problem I kind of have with the game mostly is around the user experience.
Really good idea. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
So I have to listen to him say thanks.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
The complete lack of like any strong tutorials is really frustrating. There is a tutorial that will give you the basics that you need to play the game, but there are so many mechanics in the game that are just not remotely explained through the tutorial or even through the story mode, to the point where there were some fights where I felt like I just didn't really get the tools beforehand to be able to combat them, or that felt cheap because I lacked the understanding to be able to beat them better. Now these are all skill issues, but they are skill issues that would have been alleviated with a stronger tutorial. I don't think the fact that the story mode bosses are difficult is a problem. In fact, I'm more of feeling robbed of my own experience of learning and overcoming them, because when you fight one of these guys and you realize that you can kind of get away with spamming your Super Soul game, it sort of takes some of the fun out. I should be forced to learn how to beat these guys, and sometimes I was.
You think that's a revelation? That Goku's body will always be part of me? Of course you will. Such was my desire.
Oh my god! That was great! But I noticed myself, especially with how long I had been playing the game, kind of autopiloting a lot of the fights, which I feel like took some of the fun out. It took some of the challenge out of it. That just took 4 health bars. That just took 4 health bars. That just took 4 health bars. And because there's not that much interesting stuff to really make me want to go back, I feel like I kind of robbed myself of the experience. God damn, dude. Which, if I'm complaining that I didn't give myself the best experience in a game, that means it's pretty good. Like, if I took the easy way out and I'm pissed about that, that means there's something to chew on with this game. So I understand. The general, like, UI and stuff in this game is also kind of a problem. I'm not the biggest fan of just sort of general way that the game carries itself in terms of menus and things, it's very confusing and clunky. I find myself really having to think a lot about every little thing that I do, and it can be kind of overwhelming to just even find the matches sometimes. One of the first public matches I played, I got absolutely shit stomped because the game just decided that I should just play Vegeta.
I've made a terrible mistake and I pulled up with just normal Vegeta.
And like, I got nothing against playing Vegeta, but I would have liked to have been able to pick my characters. I don't know if this was a glitch or like some special room settings or what. In the ranked mode, that hasn't been a problem for me. I've consistently been able to do everything I want, and the netcode has been really good. But there have definitely been a lot of times while playing this game where I'm like, geez, what the fuck, man? This is so confusing. I don't like this at all. Which again, if the outside elements of playing the game are my biggest frustrations with it, tell me that I really enjoy the game, and you probably will too. It's just something to be aware of if you're considering purchasing. Also, if you're considering purchasing the game, it's worth noting that this is a $70 fighting game. That's a pretty big barrier to entry. For me personally, that wasn't as big of a barrier for entry because I already knew that I would probably rock with the game, and I do. But it does mean that convincing friends to get the game is a lot more difficult than it would be if the game was cheaper, free, or had less egregious monetization after you got in the door. Yeah, that's right. There's season passes in this, which again, fighting games, kind of the norm. But it does feel a little bit archaic and frustrating to have a game closing in on $100 price tag just to get the full experience of it. $35 season pass doesn't sound like that much until you take into account that the game already costs $70 to get. This is a very week 1 Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, week 2 Ice Soup type game. And now that I've yapped about everything bad with this game, let's go into the stuff that's really good with this game. First off, the reason why the tutorial sucks so much is because this game has a lot of depth to it, which is awesome. And while it's frustrating to not immediately get access to that depth, doesn't mean that it's not still a really good time. I consistently had a giant smile on my face. I fucking beam clashed and I won! Holy shit! I did it! Or was trying to quote funny Dragon Ball stuff. That's heat.
Come here, you coward. Let me tickle you.
That's the worst. That's awful. Are you kidding me? That's their Frieza?
You coward. Let me tickle you.
No fucking... Die, monkey! The fights consistently become these flashy, awesome moments where there's actual skill involved with it. It's not just like cutscenes happening. Own that fraud! Even when it is a cutscene, you usually have just as impressive of a visual going into that cutscene from just your basic neutral combat. The sparking mechanic as a whole is so fun. The way that the casual mode is set up so you can play with literally any team that you want against anyone, but the competitive mode has rules that keep overpowered characters in check by making it so that you're limited in your roster of characters is so genius that like other games may have done it, but it feels like this is the natural progression of the like anime arena fighter style. It's also just refreshing to have an arena fighter that feels really well constructed in terms of the actual fighting in the arena. Things like earning up skill points to power up transformations or power-ups. The fact that in one of my matches, I literally instant transmissioned behind someone as Cell.
You ready? You won't
I Goku'd his ass! Get fucked! Like I was in the anime and hit them with a super moment. It's impossible to not be having a good time when moments like that are happening. It's just too damn fun. The fact that characters have like this certain number of points that goes into them, and like certain characters have transformations that power them up even more, makes it so that like the game is so much more exciting than it otherwise would have been. While it's easy to look at the character roster and see it as bloat, none of the characters really play the same in terms of their skills and supers, and the amount of variance of characters allows you to have specifically your favorite time period of Goku as a character, with the exact moves he would have at that time. There's no real generalization of characters. Little things like the androids not being able to charge up their ki, but recharging at a faster rate, making them have a completely different playstyle than most of the other characters, is really cool. Or stuff like having all these joke characters that would just be terrible actually serve a purpose on a team for filling out the last couple points of your roster, leading to stuff like your first game on as Yajirobe absolutely smoking Majin Vegeta because you threw him in as a bit to fill out the last 2 points of your roster. There's so many moments like that. You're not just building a team of the most overpowered characters you can and then running it on rank and cheesing the shit out of everyone. There's enough depth there, there's enough skill checks there, and there's enough flexibility in your team comps to really allow you to express yourself with your favorite team. And the character cuts are pretty deep too. Like, we have Android 13 in here. Unfortunately, I don't think he has a specific interaction with Trunks that I think really would have made this game a 10 out of 10 in my opinion.
Don't you lecture me with your $30 haircut.
But in general, the interactions are some of the most fun parts of the game.
Of course not, Grand Zeno. Goku would feel privileged to be your friend and provide you unsurpassed joy.
You be quiet.
Seeing how these characters react to seeing old enemies or friends, the witty, like, tongue-in-cheek dialogue a lot of the time, hearing Goten say no cap,
Is 18. She's a baddie.
that stuff just makes me laugh. Like, it's so wholesome of a game. The sound design and the graphics of the game are absolutely beautiful. The music of the game fucking rules. The controls of this game are fairly like buttery smooth and really quickly make you get used to it, while still allowing for a lot of depth in how you choose to approach things. The neutral, like, fighting portions of this game are like second to none. They feel so good. Getting in close with someone and you're constantly dodging, hitting combos, hitting counters, ending off a combo with a super here and there, key blasting your opponent while they're charging their energy up. There's so many little things that just make this one of the best games I've ever played, at least in terms of arena fighters. This game hits that perfect middle ground of being just competitive enough to not make you frustrated, but being casual enough that it's still a good time no matter what. That's kind of a rarity with games, especially fighting games nowadays. It's nice to see a game that really knows what it is, that isn't trying to do something crazy, it's just here for you to have a good time with it. Flaws and all, I think this is one of the better games I've played this year, and I would highly recommend that if you are a Dragon Ball fan, you must pick this up. You will feel like an absolute kid again playing through this. But anyways, that's gonna do it for this video. I'm gonna wrap things up so I can go play more Dragon Ball now, and I hope you all have a great Monday. This is Tasty. Let's meet in the middle of the giant wasteland for our battle chunks here, and I hope you got a good Monday. Also, happy Indigenous Peoples Day. Signing out.